Are you ready to communicate so that your needs are actually heard, respected, and honored? Come and take a listen where I teach you my exact method for communicating like a queen. Do you ever wonder why it feels so difficult being a woman? Why so often it feels like we are trying to race against time, to show no signs of aging, to be pleasing to everyone, to be in constant service, and to play to the almighty male gaze. If you are tired of living under this construct and know that deep down there's this sense and this longing that there was more to this life, I assure you there is. And that is why I have created my 2-day event, Magnetic, which will be happening November 2nd and 3rd in Phoenix, Arizona, where I will guide you through a 4-step process for living the most magnetic, expansive, exquisite life as a woman. These are the rules written by women, not by patriarchal standards that have kept us silenced, have kept us controlled, and have kept us in endless small boxes. Come and learn the art of the feminine, intuitive way. Welcome to your emotional makeover. Things your mother never told you because no one ever told her. I'm your host, Dr. Amanda Hanson. This is where you reimagine womanhood. Let us begin. In these next few episodes, I am going to be teaching you how to move out of princess behavior directly into queen actions. In so many ways, we are operating in the majority of our lives through this princess behavior that is more reactionary. And I'm going to teach you how to be in queen's energy in all aspects of your life over the next several episodes. Because rather than the princess who reacts and doesn't usually get what she was hoping for, I'm going to teach you how to be the queen who responds. So we're going to learn how to move out of reactionary, more defensive mechanisms and that wounded victim-y energy and into that deeply grounded woman who is able to respond and hold herself in the energy of being heard and respected. So we'll do that over a variety of different aspects of life in the next few episodes. But for today specifically, I wanted to focus on communication. I know that this is one of the biggest things that affect relationships, whether it is your love relationships, whether it is with your partner, whether it is with your parents, your children, your place of business, your closest of friends, even the communication you have inside of your head with yourself. So I want to really break this down today and show you what an actual conversation would get to look like from the beginning through the middle and to the conclusion, and hopefully a resolution when you do it in queen's energy versus the energy of a princess. So when we think about a princess who is communicating, she's often saying things like, "You don't understand me. You never hear me. I just can't seem to have a conversation with you because you get so defensive," or she's in this attacking energy. Or even if it's more subtle, it comes from a place that when she begins the conversation, it often already builds a wall for the other person. So they've stopped listening, or they're getting ready for their rebuttal to come back. So you've already lost them from the jump. And that's happening for the woman in this princess energy because she's feeling unsafe. She's feeling vulnerable. She's feeling unseen, unheard, unloved. So it's coming from this place of wanting to protect herself. So she automatically goes into this more protective mode, which creates defense on the other end, and inevitably never really gets her to the conclusion or the resolution she's so hoped for. It actually drives a wedge even further in the relationship. And so I see this happen over and over again. I work with women all around the world who are constantly sharing with me the dynamics and ways they are speaking with their partner, let's say, for example, or even their boss. And it makes so much sense to me when I hear them as to why they're not getting any change, any resolution, why they're not being heard, because they are sending the message in a way that makes it very difficult to receive. Now, I understand there are going to be some of you who say, it is not my responsibility for how the other person receives the information. No, technically it's not. You're exactly right. But it is your responsibility in the way that you deliver it. If you want a change, if you want to have a new result. If you don't want a new result, then by all means, keep communicating the way you've been communicating and not getting any of the changes that you are so longing for and hoping for. So I want to preface this conversation by saying, if you are really interested, and I mean truly interested in creating emotional intimacy in all aspects of your life, if you really want to bring that to your love relationship with your children, with your parents, with your best friends, with your places of business, if you really want this, it is going to require you getting extremely honest with yourself about vulnerability. Because we have, first, let me say this. We've often thought of a woman who is sharing her feelings and her emotions, and she's kind of all over the place, as being vulnerable, and equating that to vulnerability in a negative way. There is a difference between being a woman who is emotionally dysregulated, and why I teach emotional hygiene practices for daily upkeep of understanding and navigating your emotions so that you don't spew them onto other people. So if you are practicing what I suggest when it comes to emotional hygiene, you're not contaminating other people with your emotions, and you are emotionally regulated. You own what's yours, and you're able to share with other people without making them responsible for your feelings. So I want us to hear that princess is often emotionally dysregulated, where the queen is functioning in deep emotional hygiene practices, which then result in emotional regulation. So in her communication, she can be having very big feelings, but she can be communicating them from a very grounded and emotionally regulated place, because she's doing the emotional hygiene required. I will be teaching all about emotional hygienic practices in depth for 2 days at my magnetic event, which takes place November 2nd and 3rd. If you've not already bought your ticket, I strongly suggest you do. It is the remedy for every aspect of your life where you have been coming up short, where you're suffering, or where you simply want to optimize your life. So if you are coming from an emotionally regulated place, you are going to be still stepping into vulnerability. So vulnerability is the very powerful way that you show up in your truth, that you don't waver from your authenticity or who you are just because you're afraid of losing someone else, or because you are afraid that they're not going to like what you have to say. So we have to be very clear that to step into Queen's communication is going to require you being willing to get vulnerable. Vulnerable is not emotional dysregulation. Vulnerable is grounded truth, being able to hold yourself through everything you are going through and sharing it with someone else so that they better understand you. And I'm going to break this down even further. But this is the baseline where we need to begin. So get really honest with yourself. Do you actually want to build a bridge to someone else? Or would you rather just hear yourself constantly complaining about the dynamics that are not serving you? So what I see happen a lot is that women come to me and they complain about how their partner doesn't see them or doesn't hear them. And when I help them to really dissect the way they've been communicating with their partner, I can understand the dynamics at play. She says she wants emotional connection. She says she wants to be seen and heard, yet her actions do not demonstrate that. She shows up in a princess communication style that underneath it tells me she's afraid of emotional intimacy. She's afraid of true connection. She's afraid of this person really, really seeing her in all of her range. So if you want to try the Queen's communication that I'm about to share in a moment, it is going to require you to get very, very honest with yourself around whether or not you truly want to be seen. Or are you using your style of princess communication and the victim energy and the blaming of the other person energy to actually keep the distance? I know many people who do this. While they claim they want connection, they feel terrified of it. So they stay in this energy, which for them feels like they are creating some kind of a connection, because even the fighting is still a connection, right? It is creating some type of a passion, some type of a feeling, which is a conversation for a completely different episode. But today, when we think about Queen's communication, just make sure that you're checking in with yourself and that you truly, truly want to build a bridge to this other person, because that is how I see this style of Queen's communication that I teach to be. It is really you saying, I want to build a bridge to you. I want to be able to reach one another. I want to be able to extend understanding and compassion and come to the middle and provide resolution for one another. I want us to do that together. But right now, there seems to be some distance here, and I can't safely get to you. And I don't think you can safely navigate to me. So, how do we repair this and build a bridge that feels safe to walk across in each direction? So, you can think about this in places of business, friendships, loverships, any kind of relationship that you really want to take to the next level, that you really want to be more beautiful, that you feel exhausted running in circles in the same loop of dysfunction and actually getting nowhere and spending years of your life not being seen, heard, and respected. So oftentimes couples are entangled in a communication dysfunction so deep that they're not even sure how to undo it and get themselves out of it. So it will require the two of you to work on this together. And maybe you have them sit down and listen to this episode with you, so it becomes more clarified for both ends. I think it would be a beautiful invitation for anyone that you want to change the dynamics of your communication. So, and having each person be very responsible for whether they are functioning in baby princess or baby prince communication style as either a defense mechanism, a protection energy, or truly just a lack of skill set, how to do it any differently. Because the reality is we're not really learning how to be these grounded, crystal clear communicators who are radically responsible for all of our feelings. And just being able to open the door and share that with someone else so that they can better understand why we are functioning the way we are functioning and how they can better meet our needs. And same for us to them. And also, I want to share that in demonstrating this in your own relationships, it is so powerful the way you will start to lead conversations so that they too can step into different styles of communication back towards you or in other areas of their lives. So I've seen this when women do this, I've seen this change the way they show up in their relationships. I've seen this in my own family over and over again. So as the emotional leaders of the family, we and in a lot of relationships, we as women get to change the ways that we communicate. But if you stay in that victim energy, which I know is demonstrated everywhere, it's all over television, it is in so many places and spaces, it's going to require you to get a little uncomfortable. So I want to make sure that we get through all of this material. So I have a few things written here. Usually when I do these episodes, not usually, all the time when I do these episodes, I just turn the camera on and I just riff. I just go. But today I wanted to make sure, because this is a particular style of communication, that I'm not leaving any of it out. There's 5 steps that I think are super important. So first and foremost, I want us to think about, why would you even want to step into Queen's communication? Why would you even want to change it? I want you to think about the most important relationships in your life right now. Do you actually feel truly, deeply seen, heard, understood? Does the other person even know how to meet your needs? I often hear in love relationships, men tell me that they avoid a lot of things when it comes to their partner because they have no idea how to meet her needs. They have no idea what she actually wants because she says so many different things that they're very confused. And so because of that, they do a lot of avoidant behavior because they feel like no matter what they do, they're going to fail. So if you're the queen of your life, you get to lead people to show them exactly how it is that you want to be treated and the way that you want to be spoken to. So often we are worried about what other people will think of our feelings, of our bigness, of our truth, of our darkness. And so because of that, we avoid sharing with other people. And then we tell the story in our heads. They don't really understand me. But where we have to check ourselves is we have to say, but have I even really let them in? Do I feel safe enough inside of my own body that I can bring somebody else in to truly understand the inner workings? And if you don't feel safe, if you don't hold yourself with your own base of self-trust, I understand why you certainly would not be able to bring someone else in to trust. So again, at the magnetic event, I'm going to be teaching very specific ways to build your life so that you have a foundation of profound self-trust, so that ultimately we don't have to trust other people. We really, once we trust ourselves, we get to let other people show up fully as themselves, because we know in the end, we will always make the decisions that are best for us based on that deep intuition. But without self-trust, you can't even hear your own intuition. So I also hear a lot of women telling me that they spend so much time thinking of the quote unquote right way to communicate something to someone so that they can hear it. There doesn't have to be, after I teach you this 5-step model, there doesn't have to be a right way to say the words if you show up in the ways that I'm going to suggest. You get to be really raw, really real, really authentic. And if you are so worried about what is the right way, the right words, you will probably end up just avoiding the conversation altogether. Also, as my daughter and I talked about in a previous episode, if you find yourself not wanting to have a conversation because you fear the other person's reaction, there is a massive red flag there. Pay attention. If you can't speak your truth in all of your relationships, that is not healthy, that is not safe, and that is not a way to build any kind of beautiful, long-standing love. So pay very attention to that massive red flag. And then also, I want you to think about, if you find yourself cowering when in the difference of an opinion, if you bring your opinion or your thoughts or your feelings to someone and they hold an opposite opinion or feeling, how does that affect you? Because that may also show up in the way that you communicate. If you often feel attacked, defensive, or misunderstood in conversations, you are going to notice that this is going to take some time for you to build this 5-step method. But once you do, you are going to feel so held in this beautiful, beautiful energy and dynamic. And this is going to keep you from feeling invisible when you attempt this communication. So the very first thing I want you to do when you are ready to communicate with someone, to build a bridge to them, is I want you to align with them. And by alignment, I mean, if possible, being in the same room with them. I prefer this not to be over the telephone. If the person lives long distance and you have to speak to them, I would say do it over FaceTime or over some kind of communication where you can see one another. You can even see the body language, but preferably if you can do it in the same room with the person, so that they really feel that you're wanting to connect and work with them in this conversation, and they can really see you looking at them. So oftentimes I even tell people, if you can sit knee to knee. And if you can even take one hand and put it on the other person so they can feel that connection, they can feel that sense of, I'm here with you, I'm on your team, I want to do this together. So aligning energetically with them will be very important to set the tone and to set the scene of togetherness, that alignment. I want to do this together with you for sake of our growth as friends, as mother-daughter, as lovers. It's slightly different in business relationships. Of course, you don't have to physically touch the person, but you are hopefully getting into a room with them where you can be face-to-face, and if not, over a Zoom or some kind of a capability of seeing one another. The next thing you want to do is you really want to, again, through the method of alignment, you want to establish the fact that you really want them to be happy. So whether this is in business, in friendship, with a child, with a parent, with a lover, I really want in this relationship, I want you to be happy. And I want you to feel good in this relationship. I want you to feel like I really see you and hear you and am meeting your needs to the best of my ability. And I also want to be happy in this relationship. I also want to be seen and heard and honored. I want this relationship to feel joyful, and I want it to feel good for both of us. So you're establishing that you aren't just coming at them about all the things that are wrong. So you're creating this bond and this togetherness and this desire that you want something amazing for them as well as yourself. Right? So you start with, I want you to be happy. I too want to be happy. I want this relationship to feel joyful and beautiful overall for both of us. And because of that, so now you're going to move into the problem. So you've aligned with them. You've talked about the happiness. Now you're going to step into the problem. And because of that, because I want this happiness for both of us, there's been something that's been coming up that I really want to address and talk to you about because of how much I care about this relationship. It's not something I want to just push under the rug or hope that goes away in time. I know most things that we push away and ignore just fester and grow. And I respect and honor you, myself, in this relationship enough that I wanted to bring this and really put this in the center for both of us. And I want us to talk about this thing that's been on my mind. And as I talk about it, I just want you to hold the energy and the space to hear what I've been feeling, what my concerns are. Now, this can be in relation to something that's actually happening in real time in the home, in the life, in the relationship. This can be in regards to future casting, the way you feel that maybe the two of you are starting to go separate in certain aspects of your life, maybe wanting to pull together for more future dreaming and building of a life together. So you get to also share if you notice that there's been more withdrawal or there's a particular behavior you're really concerned about. But you're going to deliver this through the tone and the energy of wanting to solve for it together. You're not bringing up solutions yet, but the energy around this is that you really want to build a bridge. You've noticed this thing and you really want to talk about it with them. And then after you share what the problem is, I want you to move into the love. I want you to really help them understand. Now, if this is at a work relationship, you're going to go more into wanting to bring the success, right, for yourself and for them in the business, that you want to create a place where it feels like you're very clear on what the expectations are and you want to be successful and you want to meet the metrics and bring success to the business. But in regards to a personal relationship, you tie it back to love, letting them know how much you love them, how much you love the relationship. And that's why you wanted to honor and respect the relationship and bring this conversation up, because this relationship is so important to you that it is worthy of hard conversations, that you know that this relationship can withstand and grow, and it deserves that. So now you bring up how you care for them, how you love them, how you also love yourself. And you couldn't continue betraying yourself by not bringing this conversation up. And you couldn't continue betraying the relationship because you love the relationship. And you also want to continue evolving in the relationship and the communication dynamics. So in doing so, you knew that you had to bring this problem up so that the two of you could bring, through the lens of love, solution to this. Now, this is a moment where you get to ask the other person, I've shared with you this thing that's been bothering me. I have some thoughts and ideas on how we could resolve this. And I also want to hear from you, your thoughts and your ideas for solutions so that we can come together. We can meet in the middle. Now, this is that building of the bridge, right? You're walking to the middle, both offering your solutions into how you can make this a more safe relationship, a more beautiful relationship, a more expanded, evolved relationship. So this is where you are providing your solutions and really creating that sense of team. This is an opportunity for you to build a foundation, maybe unlike you have before. So it is bringing your solutions and offering them to bring theirs as well. So I want to bring you through an example of how this could sound with a partner, a family member, or a close friend. You're going to begin by sitting face to face with them. If they're not available in person, it's best to do it over FaceTime because the eye contact is so important to establish the alignment. So essentially, you're first going to want to establish this sense of connection through your body language, your physical touch. If you can sit knee to knee or a hand on their leg, because this is going to calm the nervous system of both you and them and bring you into alignment together, sending the signal that this conversation is very important and that you have the intention of working together with them. Let them know there's something on your heart that you want to discuss with them. Make sure that you have time for this conversation without any distractions and that all phones are off and interruptions are mitigated. Begin by letting them know how much you care for them and you want to see happiness for them and for yourself and this relationship. And for those reasons, you want this relationship to function in a harmonious way. And that's why I've brought this conversation here, is so that we can both be in this relationship where it feels so beautiful, so enriching, so fulfilling. And where it feels safe that we can actually talk about everything that's coming up for us. And now this would be the time where you start to share the problem. I've been experiencing X, Y, and Z. And as you bring the problem up, it's super important that you share I statements and to share from your perception, because your partner is going to have a very different perception of what is going on. You get to share your perception of what you believe is happening in this situation. So sharing your feelings and why this is a problem for you. That's really the goal in this part of the conversation, is why this thing feels problematic and why you're concerned about it and why you brought it to the table to address it. Again, now you're going to kind of put a hug around this. So in the middle, so first you align with them. You let them know you want happiness for both of you. You state the problem in the middle. Then you remind them how much you love them and the relationship. And then you ask for solutions. So it's like this big hug that wraps around the relationship. So the problem's in the middle, but there's alignment, happiness, love, and solutions, kind of wrapping the problem and really creating the safety and the way forward. So this is where you're wanting to remind them how much you love them, that you also love yourself and the relationship, and that you really desire to continue building a beautiful life with them. And to do so, you feel that taking the conversations and the communication to the next level is what's going to be really important. So you want to feel that you're building a relationship in both directions that feels honored and feels safe and respectful. And this is how we actually get to meet each other's needs better. When we can have these kind of conversations and I can really deeply understand you and you to understand me, this is how we will really deepen into emotional intimacy. And then the final step is about solutions, where each of you start to share what you see happening and bringing suggestions and ideas that feel good to both of you so that you can come to a resolution together. And you will really feel the sense of accomplishment, the sense of team, the sense of togetherness. And this is how we create relationships to feel heard, honored, and respected. Now, while it is your responsibility to communicate effectively, to communicate like a queen, it is not your responsibility for how they will interpret the message. Ultimately, that will be left up to them. But I will tell you, this style of communication is going to take practice. This style of communication, if it's not one you've used before, is going to feel awkward for you, for them initially, just like doing anything new feels awkward in the beginning. But the more you do it, the more you practice it, the more beautiful and natural it will feel. You can even say to your partner, hey, I really want to think about, I heard this podcast and I really want to start changing the way we communicate because I think that we have so much potential in this relationship. And I think sometimes we're just missing each other in some of the communication styles. And I really want to enhance that so that we can have this next chapter of our relationship be the best it's ever been. Invite them in to listen to this episode with you. Tell them about how important it is that you want to continue growing and evolving for the sake of not just yourself, but the relationship and taking it higher. And when we want to evolve and grow, we have to put ourselves in places, spaces, and rooms. We have to put ourselves in proximity to women who are leading that way of living. So for that reason, I would strongly encourage you buy your ticket to Magnetic, where we will be doing this times 100. In the room, in real time, with hundreds and hundreds of other women. So get your ticket to Magnetic, where you will learn how to do this times 100 in a room with hundreds of other women, where you will learn how to take every aspect of your life to the functioning of a queen so that you can live this incredibly exquisite life as a woman, where you feel safe, where you feel honored, where you feel held, loved, seen, respected. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to leave a comment below in the YouTube or to come to my DMs. Give a 5-star rating and review if you have enjoyed this and want more. I hope you find this to be useful as you move forward in the conversations with all of the people you love. As the emotional leader, you get to be the one to show people different ways of building bridges. Let me know how this works for you and be wildly patient with yourself, as it is something that will take a bit of time to get used to because we've never been taught how to actually communicate effectively. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I would love to hear your feedback. Message me on Instagram or write a review. And of course, if you know a woman who could benefit from this episode, please share it with her, because it can heal her life. And that's what sisters do. Love always, Dr. Amanda.